Hello and good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you're watching this show from. My name is Denise Belil, and I'm a serenity expert and positive intelligence specialist. We're having the show today. It's all good. Look who's here for a chat, and I'm super excited to have Kristin Duffy as my guest, and I'll tell you a little bit more about her in a second. But first, I want to let you know why I call this show It's All Good. First of all, it's because it's my favorite cup. It's all good. And I drink out of that cup every single day. Like if I ever break it, I think I'll have to glue it and put, like an old archaic cup with the glue on it. But no, I don't want to break it. So I'm not forecasting that in the future. So why I call it It's All Good and why do I love this term? Because I found that it's all good is a way of being. It's a way of a philosophy that I've developed for myself, that if you look at the past and something happened 5 minutes ago, you can't change it because it's past. You can't, sorry to break it to you, but you can't move back in the past. So you got to say it's all good because it is just the way it is. You can't change it. You can only see of what it is now and how you can live with the reason of the past. And about the future, well, you can't change the future either. There's so many circumstances that can come along that can change what's going to happen in the future, that all you can do is say it's all good. Whatever happened. Of course we can prepare. Of course we can forecast and have contingency plan in order, regardless of what happened. But in reality, we can't predict the future and we can't change the past. So the mentality is just, it's all good. It's what it is. Live for the moment and appreciate your life. So as I was saying today, Kristin, topic is supporting women over 35 creatively, mentally, and physically. Wow, that's super cool. So Kristin is an actor, the founder and artistic director of the production company Slackline Productions. She's also a podcaster, hosting the Second Chapter podcast. She's a triathlon coach also. So as a multipotentialite, oh my goodness, that's a big word. I don't think it's even a word, but that's okay, which means that she uses her potential in many different ways, and she'll tell us more about it. She uses varieties of ways to inspire women of 35 plus to keep growing. So I really appreciate that because it's very important that we don't settle in our old shoes and we don't become used to our life. Regardless of your age, you can grow and you can change and you can become your full potential. So without any further ado, let's welcome Kristin to the show. Hello and welcome. I'm so
Thank
happy that you're
you.
here.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Happy holidays. I see that you're all festive in the background with the lights.
Yes, I finally have a tree up, so I feel very festive and thought I'd show it off while I was here.
Well, I was going to say, and I'm glad you're here also, because I was going to have Santa on my show, but unfortunately, there's a snowstorm that got in the way, and Santa couldn't make it. So I'm so glad that from England we were able to have you coming up to save the show, save the hours.
It reminds me, I love the Christmas movie Elf, and I'm not going to get the quote exactly right, but he's like, Santa's coming. Santa's going to be here. I know him. So I know Santa, apparently. I will happily fill his very big or very small in the elf way shoes.
Wonderful. So tell us more about you. How did you get started to do everything that you're doing, and in a nutshell, and then we can elaborate. I know you could talk for 2 hours about that, I'm sure.
Yeah, and you know what? A multi-potentialite is actually a term. I found it the other day when I was sending you my bio, actually, because I've used various words to kind of describe the fact that I do sort of a weird range of things.
Yeah.
And I found that I think somebody coined it in 2015. And
Oh,
as opposed to meaning that you're an expert at a lot of things, it means that you're somebody who tries a lot of things. And some of them you'll be really good at, and some of them you might not be so good at, which kind of takes the pressure off that you can develop throughout your life without having to be good at every single thing you do. So hopefully I'm
I
good at the
like
things I
that.
listed. Yeah, I really do too. So I was like, yes, I'm using that term. Um, Hopefully I'm good at the things that I've listed, but growing, let's just say I'm growing all the time.
Which is great. We should never stop growing. We should always strive to learn new things.
Exactly. And that's a huge part of, I think, where I have kind of ended up where I am, which is I studied to be a fashion designer originally. And I
Mm.
did that for several years in New York and ended up moving to London. As you mentioned, I'm in England, so I'm in London with my ex. And part of that mission was adventure because I wanted to try something new. I was always interested in trying new things. And I wanted to try acting and I wanted to try
Mm.
triathlon and coaching because I was a triathlete already. And through that, and then through my subsequent divorce, I've ended up kind of taking on other roles as well, which I did study to be an actor and a triathlon coach. I'm doing both of those. But the real mission to kind of support women 35 plus was because when I came out of drama school as an actor, I realized there was kind of a lack of stories that were being told about women of a certain age. You could be young, you could be old, you couldn't kind of be in between.
Can be in the 30s,
Um,
30s, 40s. Mm-mm. You know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. 30s, 40s, 50s. Then suddenly, kind of, I saw a little bit more again. But um, yeah, so I started my production company, Slackline, to help tell those stories. And I work with female directors, writers, and telling stories that have to feature a strong character that's a woman 35 plus.
Uh-huh.
So, in that sense, I love the creative side. Through that, over lockdown, I finally started a podcast I'd been dreaming of for a while, which is the second chapter. And that's really helping to tell the true stories of women 35 plus who've made really interesting changes in their lives, their careers, and just, them getting a chance to come on and tell their stories, which I'm really inspired by because I want to try everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, and through triathlon coaching, I've actually taken on quite a few women. I especially work with a group of women from the whole school here, who I'll give a shout out to my whole moms. Um, they tend to be, as their mothers in a school, so they take on their first triathlon, and I've coached some of them for years, and have gotten to physically now also support plenty of women 35 plus. So kind of all around.
Wow. And but I understand, where you come from, but why the obsession with story of women over 35? So where did that passion and came from?
Well, I think the whole thing about coming out of drama school and not feeling like I was seeing some of our stories was important to me. I think our stories are really rich. Like when you were talking about if
Mm.
your mug broke and that you'd have to glue it back together. And um, I don't know, I can never remember the right term. I'm not going to say the right term, so I won't even try. But there's the Japanese tradition of when something breaks and you
Mhm,
mend
mhm.
it with gold.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly the image I was seeing of my cup, right?
Yeah. So I love that, as we get past a certain age, our stories get richer. We're
Mm.
mending ourselves all the time with gold.
Yeah.
And I actually saw one of my friends posted on Facebook today. God, I'm not going to say this right either, but basically that a disco ball is broken mirrors, and that
Mhm.
we're not broken, we're disco balls.
Well, that's super cool. That's a good way of seeing that, right?
Yeah,
We
so
have
I just
many
kind of
facets and
became.
we just shine wherever the lights hit us.
Exactly. So it became, I mean, 35 plus was kind of where I was when I started really thinking about it. Um, and yeah, it just seemed like the age that I saw. So when, you hear 35 or 40, women start becoming invisible. So I kind of became obsessed with making that the age that I was going to start telling stories about.
That's super cool. And what about your production companies? I found it very intriguing that, from acting school and you decide to start, Slackline and create that production companies. I mean, that's a big endeavor on its own. You want to tell
It
more
is.
about that?
It is. And I mean, I started it it must be coming up on 4 years now. I think in April, I officially started it, April of 2018, but really got started a bit after that. Um, and yeah, it's nice because I can kind of say, here's the stories we want to tell. I get to work with a lot of people because one of my favorite things, I love getting people together.
Mm.
So as I think I'm better at the creative producing side, but I love the idea of bringing people together and building a team and yeah, telling stories. So mostly theater work. We've done a lot of short story nights where we get to have a lot of mini short plays on.
Oh,
I've done a
wow.
few full length productions. And of course, the podcast stemmed out of that as well. So it's really exciting to me to be somebody who's enabling people to tell stories.
Wow, that's super cool. And like, and I know like London, they have a big theater life, right? There's a lot
Yeah.
of productions going on in there, a lot of theater, and a lot of, like, in New York they have Broadway, so Broadway is full of, productions and everything. And I feel London is a little bit like New York in that sense, isn't it?
It's interesting because when I lived in New York, I wasn't an actor yet. So I feel like I took advantage of the theater scene, but not nearly as much as here. And London, I mean, it's getting a little bit more, unfortunately, like New York in the sense that ticket prices have gone up. But there is a huge fringe and small scale theater scene here. Granted, as a producer, it's not easy to make money, but as a customer, as someone who loves to go to the theater and who loves theater, um, there's so many opportunities to tell stories that don't have to be West End or Broadway
Mm.
size.
Yeah.
So it is such a thriving scene, and one that obviously has been hit so hard by the pandemic. So I
Yeah.
have big hopes that, just shouting out again to some people that have been hit really hard, and yeah, big hopes that we can come back stronger than ever, because I
Yeah,
think a
hang
lot
on.
of people, yeah, yeah, it really is about hanging on, because I think so many people have done such amazing work online. So many people have been working with more, people of all abilities and diversity, that I hope continues as we come out of the pandemic. And I think only time will really tell.
Yes, yes, for sure, for sure. I mean, all we can do is hang on, keep the spirit up, and just keep moving, because life has to go on, right? That's the life of a show, right? Life must
Ex-
go on.
Exactly. Exactly.
And you say you started your podcast as COVID hit, and then you started the podcast. And so, beside the fact that it was COVID, what inspired you to have that Second Chance podcast?
The
Chapter,
second chapter. Yeah.
second chapter.
I think it just felt like another way to tell stories. I
Mm,
mean, I like writing, but I'm not a writer myself. I'm not a playwright. I think that I just really like, as much as I like to talk, obviously, from this interview, I also really love other people's stories. And I think telling kind of the fictional side through the production company is really exciting, hearing the stories people write, but also the stories of real women and what they've done in their lives. So I think it was something that was just a natural progression. And it was something I had forever kind of said, oh, I want to do it, I want to do it, and just hadn't. So I think it was something that was easy enough to do from home. I was already producing online theater from home. So I thought, one more thing to kind of keep telling the stories. So the second chapter was born.
wow, that's super cool, because it so many people have dreams, and oh, I want to do that one day, I want to do that one day. And when people actually start to walk the step towards those dreams and taking the action to realize them, so many great things can happen, to
Yeah.
people's life.
And I do feel like that's the thing that every single woman that I've interviewed, I've learned something from, if not multiple things.
Yeah.
Um, they've all inspired me. I've had just people that have completely, the changes that they've made have been, astonishing, but also just the adversity that they've overcome. So, there's so many stories that it is like taking the first step. And the first step for so many of us hasn't been that easy. And to hear their stories really inspires me. And I hope that it also inspires the people that are listening, that if they want change in their own life, that it is possible.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. Everything is possible. We can decide. We just need to, the way I do it with my coaching is that my coaching business is like in motion coaching. And why I call that in motion coaching is because it's like baby step. You just have to get moving. You just have to start the momentum. And as you go slowly and more, and you don't stop. And then eventually it's like the locomotive, right? That starts. And the locomotive, you just start very slow, and then just keep going, and eventually it can go 100 miles an hour because it build up on the momentum. So it's the same thing with anything in life. And I think now my next question is about, wow, triathlons and how, like, I mean, you don't start a triathlon just by saying, okay, tomorrow I'm going to go register a triathlon and I'm doing it in 2 weeks, so that's a
Well,
lot of
not
building
necessarily the
momentum
2 weeks
into
part,
that.
but I feel like a lot of people do sort of register after an impulse the night at the pub. That does tend to happen. Mine was a bit of an impulse, the first one I did, I have to say. But what you
Like
were
a
saying,
challenge almost. Yeah, let's go do a triathlon.
exactly. And I mean, I think people are surprised because triathlons come in all distances. So people hear about Ironman, which happens to be
Mm-hmm.
my favorite distance, or was in
Yeah.
the past. I haven't done one for a while, but I plan to do one again. But those are really long. Those are the ones, you see on TV that people are going forever. And, you know, but there are distances, there are super sprints, there are sprint triathlons. And these are
Yeah.
triathlons that can take, an hour. So most people with some training could do a triathlon.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny what you were saying about taking baby steps, because one of the things, one of the women that I coached the other day, she's very new. She's only been coming for I think it was her second week. And we were running up and down hills. And she just said, does this get any easier? And I said, yes, this is your second week. Yes, you're taking your baby steps now. And then I said, actually, it doesn't get easier. You just get faster. Because I think she was very intimidated by some of the other women that were there. But some of the women that were there have been coming to my coaching sessions for 4 years,
That makes
and
a
they
big
are
difference.
faster.
Exactly.
So it's going from that choo choo choo, like you said, into 100 miles an hour. And yeah, I really love to see that. That's something that inspires me so much, to watch these women and watch all the people I coach. I don't just coach women. I have my own triathlon. Well, I say my own triathlon club. I started the triathlon club. It is not mine. The athletes have taken it over, and we have an amazing committee. But the triathlon club that I started in Northwest London, Willesden Triathlon Club, uh, they are so inspiring to me as well.
Wow.
I don't know if that paragraph made sense, but
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's a group of people like wanting to get together and support one another, because that, like, and it works like like a mindset coach that I am. Like it works with the mindset. As long as you tell yourself, you set yourself goals and you tell yourself you want to do it, then all the rest is keeping the momentum. Just keep doing it. When I tell people that want to, like, let's say they want to start walking more, right? Like, oh, I don't know, I get tired walking and all that. And then I give the example, if you were to start with 1 minute, can you walk 1 minute? Yeah, of course. Okay. So tomorrow, do you think you can walk 2 minutes? Yeah, of course, 2 minutes, And then if you increase 1 minute a day, which is not a lot, 1 minute, it's not a whole lot. And I tell them, I said, by the end of the year, you can walk 365 minutes in a row. I was like,
yeah.
really? Yeah, well, yeah, but if you think, okay, I want to walk 365 minutes, I can never do that. I'll get out of breath. I'll be pooped. I'll be like, I
Mm,
can't do it. But can you walk one more minute every day? I'm like, in the end, you get the big result, right? And that's
yeah.
the same thing I imagine with the triathlons. Like, I mean, yes, you go up and down the hill, and yes, it will get easier because your lung capacity and your heart will work better and all that. It's never going to be super easy because it is, going up a hill
Yeah.
and going up. Everybody's puffing up, going up the hill, but you'll make it faster. You're not going to be like dragging your feet and all that. And it's super cool, the approach to that. And before we go further, I just want to say hello to those that are listening. And I see that there's Christine Walker and Martin Nurminer. Hi, Martin. Nice to see you. And it's always good to have people that are listening. And as you listen, for those that come in on the replay, whenever you have question, feel free to put it in the chat, because we're going back to the live afterwards and we answer the question. So make sure if you have a question for me or for Kristin, that you put tag their name into the chat, our name into the chat, and then we'll be notified and we can come and answer your question. So thank you for being here. It's always good to have people around that are listening to what we blah, blah, blah about, because we just go on forever.
Yes,
so tell me about your first experience of it as a triathlon. Like you say, you started with like a bet at the bar almost, the pub. So how did that came along?
That wasn't me, though. I know lots of people that have started that way. In fact, many of the people that come to the triathlon club say, "Oh, I was in the pub a couple months ago and signed up, and now I need training quick." But for me, it was that I had done a 5K run, and I say run, I'll put it in air quotes, because it was not much of a run for me. It was, a slow jog. But it was the first kind of thing like that I'd ever done. And I did it through work. It was like a corporate challenge kind of thing. And I came home, and I did bring beer home. I was very excited. And I invited my downstairs neighbor, who was my best friend at the time, Kim. I said, come up and, have a beer with me, because I did this 5K run. I'm so excited. And I made a joke that I was going to do a triathlon. And it was kind of like, oh, now I'm going to do a triathlon. Oh. And I got a postcard in the mail not a week later about doing a triathlon. And I was like, wait a second. But it was for charity. And I was working, it was the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society in New York, which is an amazing organization. And I ended up going to a meeting just to see what it was about. And one of the women who got up to speak was a woman who was a coach or an instructor at the gym where I went. She taught step aerobics. And every week she would kick my butt. Every week I was like, whew. Because I wasn't an athlete. I wasn't that fit. Yeah. And she got up to speak, and I was like, oh, cool. She's going to do the triathlon. She'd be a great person to train with. And she started speaking about how she had lymphoma or leukemia and had 5 brain tumors. And I thought, if this woman can come and kick my butt in the gym every week, I can do a triathlon. So long story short, the group of triathletes that I trained with, because we did some coaching as part of the program, they became my coaches, my best friends in New York. It provided a whole social life for me. Like you said, it was about showing up. It was about having that group to train with. Yeah. And the coaches, Scott and Ross, who now have a company called TriLife New York City, TriLife NYC, they ended up kind of expanding and taking us. Most of us ended up doing iron distance triathlon with them. Oh. So it was like we all just kind of kept going, and having friends made it feel like it was just a normal thing to do. And that's what I kind of want to impart on my athletes, is that you don't have to be this iron person. You don't have to be a superhuman. Everybody can do something that makes themselves a bit more fit, that, provides camaraderie. And yeah, that's why I love coaching too.
Oh, that's great. And I'm sure you're very good at supporting them, because obviously you walk the talk, you've done it yourself, you trained yourself. Well, you were trained, but still, you learn from somebody that's really good, and then you're teaching others. And just for those that, and me included, that don't know exactly what's involved in a triathlon. So what are I know it's 3 different, I think it's running, bicycling, and swimming, but what's the distance? What's involved? How does that work?
So it's swimming first in almost all triathlons, and then cycling, and then running. I think the idea is that, it's it's better not to have people in the water after they're tired.
Yeah,
Put them
yeah.
in the water first before they're too tired. Like I said, some races,
And
super sprints,
what's the distance? Does it varies or?
it does vary. It varies incredibly. So I'm going to be under pressure now and not say the right thing. A sprint distance, there are super sprints, but sprints are usually 750-meter swim, a 20K bike. Am I saying it right? Yes. And a 5K run is basically a sprint. I mean, they can vary, but that's the technical distance. And then Ironman is, I usually do this one in miles. I'm switching my kilometers and
Yeah,
miles,
yeah, for sure,
but
for sure.
a 2.4 mile swim, 112-mile bike, and a marathon, which is a 26.2 mile
Wow.
run. And then there are crazy people who do things like, you know, triple Ironman and beyond, 10 iron, whatever, things that I don't even contemplate because I just would be too bored, too
Yeah, well, the
bored
thing
and
is
too
like,
tired.
yeah, doing that much exercise in one day and it's just like, okay, what else? There's other things to do. I need stuff to do right now in my business or my home, or
Yeah.
I need to
Yeah.
go
I
do my
mean, an
laundry.
Ironman
Can I
obviously
finish
takes,
this?
and yeah, an Ironman usually takes, I mean, anywhere from the fastest pros are doing it in 7 something hours to most races have a cutoff time of 15 to 17 hours. And there are people that are out there trying to beat the cutoff time of 17 hours. So
That's their goal. Yeah, that's
it is, yeah, it's a long day.
yeah. No, not for me. Thank you. And how long would it take to do a sprint marathon, a triathlon?
Sprints kind of vary, but like I say, they're in the like hour 2 hour kind of range. They're not like, there's something that is very doable for most people, especially when you break it down, like you were saying, the little bite-sized chunks. If you break down,
Yeah.
a 750 or even some of the super sprints, 400-meter swim or less. If you break down, what it is to do a 20K or a 10K bike,
It's
it's
not that
really
long. Yeah.
possible.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
not that long really when you think about it, you know?
Yeah.
Like even
So
running 5K is I know people that does that in half an hour or less,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
So it is something that, and the thing you said about starting and adding a minute, adding a minute, I often use it in the reverse way that, when we're getting to the end of a workout and it's like, you just have a minute to go. Anybody can do something, you can do anything for a minute. And so I do think if you break it down into those smaller chunks, can I get to that tree? Can I get to that next signpost? Can I get to that next mile marker, whatever it is?
yeah.
It is possible.
Yeah, that reminded me, and it is because I went way back in when I lived in Vancouver, still live here. But my friend and I, we had our bike and we decided to go over the bridge that crossed, like it's a big bridge that cross, the part of the inlet and go on the other side. But, bridge are like that, right? You
Yes.
got, you got to get to the top before it gets easier. So on the way there was fine, because we were fresh and just starting. But on the way back, coming back on the bridge, coming on the other side, and that was my motivation. It's okay, I gotta make it at least to the next lamppost,
Yeah.
and then again, okay, now I'm here, okay, I can make it to the next lamppost, I can make it to the next lamppost, and eventually I made it over the hill, and then it was easier, and I had the gravity and the momentum of going down that was like, oh, finally I made it. But I'm gonna tell you, I was not going fast, but I didn't get off the bike. I was like, no, I gotta make it to the next lamppost and the next
Yeah.
lamppost, and I was like, pretty much, I could have walked faster, I think, if I was, if I would have been the speed of my bike. But I was going, I just kept going, and it's a motivator. It's techniques, right? You gotta look at the ways that will motivate you to take you to your next level, to your next step, to your challenge, and to overpass them. Right.
Yeah. And I didn't think about it when I started triathlon coaching. It wasn't a thing like, how am I going to help people mentally? But really my job is to kind of set a workout, which, I mean, I just was on a course that I'm working on doing more one-to-one coaching, but I was on a course that was talking, they said anybody can write a plan. And it's true. I mean, once you know something about it, you can write the plan. But
Mm-hmm.
what I really need to do my job is to kind of be there and mentally support people so that they know they can do it. And if they
Mhm.
can't, you know, why isn't it working today? Or, how can we make this session something that you can achieve? And so
Yeah.
we talk a lot about effort level, and we talk a lot about form and technique to make it easier. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's
It has a lot
amazing
to
how
do
much
with
of it's
that.
mental.
Yeah. And yeah, mental, first of all, it's like anything in your life. If you have the mindset, you have a lot more chance to achieve whatever you want to achieve than if you just, you know, give up on your hope, right?
Exactly.
You say, I can do it. Okay, I can do 1 more minute. Yes, I can. Okay, I'll come back next week. I'll rest now, but on next training session, I'll be there.
Exactly. Just keep showing up.
Yeah, what did they say? 80% of success is just showing up. So we
I
just
don't know
have
if
to be
that's
there.
the exact statistic, but I'll take it. It sounds about right.
Just show up. So what is it that you would like to last words that you would like to share with people that are listening, or do you have any way people can contact you? We'll put that on the one of the comment in our below the
Okay.
video. But what is it that people that want to contact you or want to be in touch with you, even though you're in UK, but is there any giveaway or something?
Yeah, definitely. People that are storytellers, playwrights can contact me through slacklineproductions.co.uk, because I'm always looking for interesting plays written by women that have strong stories of women 35 plus.
Hmm.
People that have real life stories, women 35 plus who have had interesting changes or inspiring changes in their lives and careers. I'm looking for all sorts of stories like that. So they can contact me through the second chapter. And of course, I hope people listen to the second chapter podcast because I love it. And it is, as they say, available wherever people listen to their favorite podcasts. And
Absolutely,
yeah,
that's
I
super
mean,
cool.
my club is here, coaching Willesden Triathlon Club, and yeah, get in touch. I'd love to talk to people just because I like talking to people and hearing their stories.
Yes, yes. And I love that too. That's why I'm doing this show. Just meeting very interesting people, great, you know, multi-potentialite and people
Isn't
that are
it such
just
a good word?
it is a great word, and people that really want to make a difference in the world and supporting other people in the same time. I think that's super extraordinary. And thank you so much for being here with me today. And just stay there. We're just going to close this call. And thank you for so much for the audience, people that were there listening to us. It's the It's All Good show. Look who's here for a chat. It's all good because that's my favorite cup, and it's also my way of thinking. So I invite you to come back next Monday. I'll be there on my own because who wants to be on a video cast between Christmas and New Year's? But you'll be there to listen. I know you'll be there at noon on next week. But what I'll do is I'll talk a little bit. It won't be a long video, but I'll talk about, okay, it's the end of the year. What happened this year and how do we move forward in the new year, and different ways that if you need help, if you want people to help you into moving forward. I know a bunch of people. I can help you. A lot of my friends can help you to get your goals together. And I would love for you to watch next week at 12 Pacific time. And until next week, be kind to one another and have a good holiday. Goodbye.